And one more thing that we're going to do on this server is create a new Linux user. Because as a security best practice, you should actually not execute services and you shouldn't start applications with root user because you're giving the application root privileges, so to say. So security best practice is to create a user for every application you deploy and run and give it only the permission that it needs to run that specific application. So generally when administering servers, when working on the servers, you shouldn't work with the root user. You should actually log in and work with another Linux user. Even if you're doing administrative tasks, you should create a specific user for yourself, for other DevOps team members, each having permissions to administer and each having some of the permissions that a root user has so they can escalate their privileges. But basically you're not working with the root user. So let's go ahead and create a Linux user and then we can access the server with that user. So I'm going to do add user command and my name. So this will create new user Nana and I can set my password, confirm the password, and let's just leave all the defaults. And that's it. I have a user now that is called Nana and does not have root privileges, so to say. However, I want to allow this user to execute some of the commands that root user can execute. And for that, I'm going to add it to sudo group. Right now, you see a group Nana was also created and my user Nana was added to that group. So that's the only group I have. Now I'm going to add my user to a Linux group, sudo, which has sudo privileges. Sudo basically means I can execute commands as a root user, so I can escalate permissions when I need per command. And this is the command to add my user to sudo group. And I can actually switch from one user to another while I'm logged in onto the machine. So I can do su-nana. And you see I have sudo privilege. So I can actually execute some commands that need root user privilege with sudo. But right now I have switched to user Nana. And here you see I'm logged in as my user and I am in my home directory. So I can also print that out. This is my home directory. And here you see the sign here changed. This is for a standard Linux user. This is for root user, this sign here. And I can actually leave that server using exit command. This logs out as a user Nana, and I can also log out from root as well. However, now if I try to do this, so basically try to access the server with my user, you see it's not working because I need to provide my SSH key that I have configured for root user also for this user, because it just doesn't recognize me or it can't authenticate me. It doesn't have my SSH key that I have configured in the DigitalOcean UI. That one was configured for root user. So we're going to do the same for my user, however, using the command line. So we're going to SSH again as root, and we're going to switch to my user again. So now I'm in the home directory of Nana user. So what I'm going to need to do here is take my public SSH key. So again, take the public SSH key. I have copied that. And now I'm going to go back to the server where I'm logged in as a user. And since I'm in the home directory, right here, I'm going to create .sh folder because I don't have that one yet. So let's create that, SSH. And now in that folder, I'm going to create a file called authorized keys. So let's do that as well. And for this command, because it's the SSH directory, I'm going to need sudo privilege. So I'm gonna execute that with sudo vim. That's the editor. And that file doesn't exist yet, so I'm just gonna create it like this, authorized keys. So this command will either create a new file and then give me the Vim editor or open an existing file. But since I just created the folder, I don't have the file available, so we're creating it now. So authorized keys. Now, because I executed the command with sudo, I have to provide my password of this user, of Nana. And now I can actually copy my public SSH key that I got from my .ssh folder. And now it's saved. I have the authorized keys file in the home directory of Nana that has my public SSH key inside. So now when I try to log into the server using this user, it will check my SSH key on my laptop and see if it's one of the authorized keys. And if it's not going to allow me to log in. If it is, then it's going to authenticate me and I will be able to access it. So let's actually exit again. It's clear. And let's try to SSH using my user. And here you see I'm directly logged in as Nana user. Awesome. So everything is set up. We are going to actually do the same for every application that we're going to install here. For example, for Nexus, we're going to create a Nexus user. And for Jenkins, it's going to be Jenkins user and so on. Because as I said, this is a best practice. Even the official documentations of these tools state that you shouldn't start these applications or you shouldn't execute the start command of these applications with root users, but rather with own user that you create for that specific service. And we're going to see that in later sections.